The wolf is made the way the world is made. You cannot touch the world. You cannot hold it in your hand, for it is made of breath only. Gwaeron Windstrom is the god of trackers and the patron deity of rangers. He is also known as the Master Tracker, as the tracker who never goes astray, as the master interpreter of the woodland signs, and as the mouth of Mieliki. While his secret, true name is Arthon, concealed from all for the power it gives to those who know it. He stalks the wilds, maintaining the balance of nature and inspiring the rangers of the north. Gwaeron Windstrom appears roughly as he did in mortal life, as a 6.5-foot tall elderly human man, fit and muscled despite his years. His long white hair and his leonine beard sway and whip about in the breeze, even in the absence of wind. He is bare-chested, and he carries a flaming two-handed sword. Whilst below the waist he is dressed practically for woodland survival. He rarely speaks, but when he does, it is in a brief and emotionless manner. And outside of his humanoid form, he has been known as well to manifest as woodland creatures, particularly deer, boars, or birds. Or sometimes as a fairy dragon or a pseudo-dragon. Or as a ring of dancing lights like fireflies. Or as a human footprint with his holy symbol visible within the heel. In centuries past, Gwaeron Windstrom lived as a mortal ranger who roamed the cold northern regions of Faerun, until he earned the admiration of Mieliki, the goddess of the forests, by single-handedly hunting and slaying several earthly manifestations of Malar, the bloodthirsty god of the hunt. Thus, the Forest Queen sponsored the Ranger's rise to godhood as her strongest soldier against Malar, whom Gwaeron hunts to this day. As befits one who seeks such fearsome prey, the Master Tracker exudes quiet confidence without presumption. He prefers actions to words, and he typifies patience. And yet, when the scales of balance are upset, the fury of Gwaeron Windstrom is terrible to behold, and his wrath will swiftly follow. He holds a particular enmity for trolls, whom he views as a destabilizing force within nature. Gwaeron keeps close company with his fellow guardians of the wilds. Laru, the goddess of intelligent beasts, and Shialia, the goddess of fertility. And all three closely serve Mieliki, and by extension Sylvanus the Tree Father, the god of wild nature. The Master Tracker's role as Mieliki's scout and messenger has earned him alliances within other pantheons, such as Fenmaril Mestarine, the elven god of outcasts, Solinor Thelendira, the elven god of archery, Avarine, the halfling war god, and Bearthen Wild Wanderer, the patron of forest gnomes. He also allies with Shorndakal, the god of travelers, while he also coordinates his war against Malar with Nobanyan, the god of feline nobility. While, other than the Beast Lord, his only other enemy is Vaprak, the frenzied god of the trolls. Although he has a home within the House of Nature which lies on the plain of Elysium, the Master Tracker leaves this realm to his followers to make their afterlives as their own, while he chooses to dwell upon the mortal plane. For near the bustling northern town of Tribor, which is known as the town where only Gwaeron sleeps, there lies a magical forest of eternal autumn, known as Gwaeron's Slumber, wherein the locals believe that Gwaeron Windstrom makes his earthly abode. Gwaeron's tracking skills are peerless, being able to find trails that are months old. Neither teleportation, seafaring, flight, nor even planet travel can shake him from a trail, whilst nothing magical or mundane can cause him to become lost. He is constantly affected by a wind-walking spell, and he may surround himself with flames at will, in addition to wielding nature magic to rival the skills of a master druid. His attacks are particularly lethal against trolls, and he may temporarily enhance the tracking abilities of his followers by manifesting as a footprint just as they step into it. Gwaeron Windstrom is a demigod, and his neutral good alignment represents his empathy for plants and for animal life. His clerics tend to adopt the nature, the twilight, or the knowledge domains, and they turn and they destroy undead. His favoured weapon is known as Flameheart, and his divine casters all train in the great sword. His holy time is the dusk, when his casters pray for spells as the forests come alive, with beasts emerging to forage and to hunt. His followers are known as Gwaeronen, and they are for the most part rangers of the north, not worshipping him in the typical sense, but rather trying to emulate him, to walk in his footsteps, both figuratively and literally. And thus they keep the balance of nature by living and working at the edge of civilization, protecting farmers and their herds, bringing lost travelers home, collecting bounties on poachers and bandits, and plying their woodland trade to make an honest living. Gwaeronen will invoke the Master Tracker's name before a hunt, and after their quarry is caught, they will leave a ring of 6 footprints in the dirt using their right foot, with the heels nearly touching and the toes facing outwards. Clerics and druids of Gwaeron Windstrom are known as rangers, a confusing name made simpler by the fact that nearly all of them multi-class as rangers. In many ways, Gwaeron Windstrom's church is merely an extension of the Church of Mialiki. Indeed, many Gwaeronen pray to him for his capacity as the mouth of Mialiki, trusting that he will deliver their prayers to the Forest Queen more reliably than praying to her directly, given her wild and unpredictable nature. The distinction between the faiths is purely subjective, being up to the individual to delineate as they choose. Their vestments are practical, made for purpose rather than for style. Gwaeronen mark themselves by a tattoo of a 5-pointed star. Men keep their hair and their beards long and well-groomed, while women wear their hair in a long braid. Almost unheard of outside of northern Faerun, Gwaeronan worship is most commonly found within the High Forest and in the forests of Cormanthor, straying near the ruins of abandoned elvish cities, on the watch for monstrous incursions. Having no formal temples, Gwaeron's holy sites often take the form of dedications within Mialiki's temples, usually by the carving of his holy symbol onto a stone. His notable shrines include a tribute within the unnamed temple of Mialiki within the hamlet of Morbin's Shield, and, of course, the enchanted forest of Gwaeron's Slumber, a common site of pilgrimage for many Gwaeronan who will sleep within the woods to receive prophetic visions. Gwaeronan's elite are known as the Fellowship of the Stalkers of the Silent Path, or Stalkers for short. They are largely single-classed rangers of human or half-elven origin, and they adapt their clothing to the colours of the seasons, including a sewn-in patch of the Gwaeronan holy symbol. They serve the Church of Mialiki as seekers and as messengers in much the same way as their god serves the Forest Queen. In my world, the ancient ecology of the forest is in decline. The elves are gone from the face of the world, and by the path they blazed in retreat, they committed vast offences against the Fey races, who, now forced out of the Feywild, are stranded within the shrinking forests of Faerun, fighting to slow the increasingly industrial encroach of civilization upon the last bastions of wild nature. It is the sunset of high fantasy, and the dawn of the age of man, whence the gods grow silent, for it seems that they, like the elves before them, have left the material world to fend for itself. But as the Fae spread out their gossamer wings to claim the spoils left behind by the elven retreat, they came across a magical wood in the northern lands, wherein a copse of trees hid the slumbering antediluvian form of an ancient something. Something that heeded not the retreat of the old ways, but rather lingered to imbue a trinity of witches with governance over the balance of nature. Of these three, the maiden hag holds the wild, the hungry forces of nature that seek to feel creation. The mother hag holds the worm, the entropic death and rot of all things, while the crone keeps the weird, the spark of possibility for change. Meanwhile, a solitary tale is told round hearths and traded down caravan lines of a half-mad ranger, eyes clawed out by bramble thorns, who emerged from deep woods in gibbering madness before turning into a pile of fetid dirt before disbelieving eyes. He spoke but twice before disintegration. The first, describing an ascendant fairy king with the head of a stag and a giant flaming blade in his grasp, who united the Seelie and the Unseelie courts to retake the wilds by bloody means. The second utterance, as his mouth crumbled in earthen transformation, was a warning. that the old woman is dead, and they have won while they seek the third, and that the tracker shall soon become the master of all wilds. The beliefs of the Gwaeron are simple, common-sense notions. That the measure of intelligence is the ability to live in harmony with nature, without requiring the destruction of the wilds to protect oneself, and without needing to restrain one's own nature to protect the wilds. Do not fear the wild ways, for they are the good ways, and one should embrace them fully. Keep the balance by studying the secrets of life and encouraging others to seek them out in the goodness of the wilds. Oppose the needless felling of trees and the use of fire for the deliberate clearing of land. And finally, live in harmony as a creature of the forest, and teach others to live as you do, and swiftly punish those who bring cruelty to the wilds by hunting for sport or for pleasure.